Jumbo the elephant became an international superstar, known at that time as the largest elephant to ever be kept in captivity. Jumbo became a worldwide sensation that introduced the word jumbo, meaning large in size, to our vocabulary. But despite his fame, Jumbo lived a rather deplorable life, followed by a tragic death. Jumbo was born around 1860 in Sudan. After his mother was killed by hunters, he was captured and ended up in Germany before being imported to France and kept in the Paris Zoo. In 1861, London's Royal Zoological Gardens acquired Jumbo in exchange for a surplus rhinoceros they had on hand. There he was named Jumbo, short for Mumbo Jumbo, a guardian angel who protects West African villages from evil spirits. Over the years, he grew enormously in size and became the largest elephant in captivity, measuring 11 feet 6 inches tall and weighing 6.5 tons. Although enormous in size, Jumbo had a sweet character. Every afternoon, he would be let out and lumber along the paths of the zoo, carrying 8 to 10 children on his back. However, Jumbo soon reached the age for mating, a time when male elephants are known to fly into sudden and murderous fits of rage. Despite the fact that Jumbo had never attacked anyone, the zoo feared a potential incident. In 1882, the superintendent of the London Zoo made the decision to sell Jumbo to the American entertainer Phineas T. Barnum of the Barnum and Bailey Circus for an amount of $10,000 US. Barnum and his men began the monumental task of transporting Jumbo to America. They constructed a cage built of giant wooden beams reinforced with straps of iron and mounted on a massive four-wheeled trolley that was to be hauled by 6 horses from the zoo to the Millwall docks 6 miles away, where Jumbo would board a waiting steamship. However, Jumbo had different ideas, and no amount of coaxing could convince him to enter the crate. On a second attempt, Jumbo was led down to the docks by foot, but again Jumbo resisted, and when he was scolded by the handler, he whimpered loudly and finally knelt to the ground, refusing to move. This show of resistance convinced the British public that Jumbo didn't want to leave England and sparked a public outcry. 100,000 schoolchildren wrote Queen Victoria begging her not to sell the elephant. Jumbo's story was covered everywhere in the local media, and Jumbo merchandise was soon on sale everywhere. Everything from hats, collars, neckties, cigars, and fans were soon emblazoned with Jumbo's image. Despite a lawsuit against the London Zoo alleging the sale was in violation of multiple bylaws, as well as an attempt by the zoo to renege on the deal, the court upheld the sale. On a third attempt, Jumbo finally entered the cage, and 6 horses hauled him to the dock for his voyage. After arriving in New York City, Jumbo was taken through the streets, lined with cheering crowds, to Madison Square Garden, where Barnum's circus was playing. Jumbo drew enormous interest from the public, and during its 3-week run, Barnum recovered enough money to pay for the purchase of the animal. Over the course of the 31-week season, the circus earned $1.75 million, largely due to its star attraction, which Barnum called the overshadowing monarch mastodon, whose like does not exist in the wide world. For the next 3 years, the show would play in Madison Square Gardens in the spring, and then go on the road to locations throughout North America until the fall. And Jumbo proved to be as popular with circus audiences as he'd been with visitors at the London Zoo. But that success would not last forever. On September 15, 1885, Barnum's Circus was performing in St. Thomas, Ontario in Canada. The afternoon show began as always before taking a tragic turn. During the equestrian performance, a performer lost his grip while riding bareback and took a fall. He was quickly carried from view, but died while the remaining acts continued to perform. And that same evening, more tragedy followed. About halfway through the show, after completing their performance, handlers led the elephants back to their boxcar for the night. Jumbo and a little elephant named Tom Thumb had closed the act and were the last to be loaded. While Jumbo and Tom Thumb were being led by their keepers down the main train line towards their car, Special Freight Train number 151 came rushing at them from behind. The engineer spotted the animals and threw the engine into reverse. And Jumbo also saw the approaching danger, starting to run wildly down the track, but there was no escape. Tom Thumb ran too, but he was hit by the locomotive's cow catcher and thrown aside. And then it hit Jumbo, violently crushing him against a circus train car before finally derailing and coming to rest near the wounded animals. Jumbo lay huddled against the circus train with his skull fractured, deep gashes in his leathery hide, and severe damage to his internal organs. The elephant moaned in agony before dying minutes later. As the news began to break, Barnum saw an opportunity and crafted a story to solidify the legacy of Jumbo. In his version of events, Jumbo died a hero's death while trying to save his fellow elephant by standing fast and letting the engine deliberately hit him instead of the little one. An examination of Jumbo's remains revealed how the elephant must have suffered in life. Jumbo's diet wasn't suitable for an elephant and left his teeth deformed and impacted. An analysis of his hair also found that it contained high nitrogen levels, indicating high levels of bodily stress. And his bones were in a condition comparable to an elephant twice his age, showing that Jumbo must have lived in chronic pain. Additionally, many metallic objects were found in the elephant's stomach, including pennies, keys, rivets, and even a police whistle. For the next 32 hours after his death, Jumbo's body was visited by an estimated 6,000 people, some of whom took pieces of his tusks, hide, and body hairs as souvenirs. One youth even took away a piece of Jumbo's trunk, stating that he planned to have it tanned and converted into a cover for his scrapbook. Not willing to let go of his precious asset, Barnum hired a professor and taxidermist to skin Jumbo so that his hide could be stuffed and mounted and put on exhibition in the circus. When it came time, police formed a protective ring to keep people from seeing the butchering, but a local entrepreneur charged 5 cents a person to view the proceedings from a nearby viewpoint. Once the task was complete, the remains were set alight, taking 6 cords of wood to reduce the flesh to ash. After touring with Barnum's circus, Jumbo's skeleton was donated to the American Museum of Natural History, and his heart was sold to Cornell University. His hide was donated to Tufts University, where it was displayed at the P.T. Barnum Hall for many years before finally being destroyed in a fire in April 1975. The ashes from that fire are still kept in a jar of Peter Pan crunchy peanut butter in the office of the Tufts athletic director. And his taxidermy tail is held by the Tufts Digital Collections and Archives. Jumbo is known to have influenced many pop culture creations, like Lucy the Elephant, the oldest surviving roadside attraction in America. And he's also believed to have inspired Walt Disney's 1941 animated film Dumbo. In 1985, the city of St. Thomas erected a life-size statue to commemorate the centennial of the elephant's death. So long after Jumbo's death, the memory of this beloved elephant lives on. But for his part, Tom Thumb recovered from the accident with only a slight, permanent limp.